Today, we're looking at a yellow ink by KWZ El Dorado. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, it really does help me out if you check out the entire video. If you like yellow inks or want to find one that will really work for you, take a look down in the description and you'll find a link to that playlist. Now, if you're new here, hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. To standardize some of the writing samples, the first three are always done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia dot pad. Let's take a look at the first one, 90 GSM Clairfontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some shading. Look at how KWZ starts a bit darker and works its way lighter. And the Dorado, it's light at the bottom of the D, but darker at the top of the D. Very nice. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. The shading is gorgeous on this ink. Look at how it goes from an orange to a yellow to an orange in quick, or orange down to yellow in brown. Light to dark in Fox, 16 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, gorgeous shading all the way through. Brown goes from dark to light to dark. Fox from light to dark. Over from light to dark. Very nice, 21 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show some color variation, but it is much better in the writing. But the smear test, you likely would not be able to recover this if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with this Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, this Jinhao X450 with a medium, and this Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Pelican M1000 with a fine nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. Now, let's take a look at the second standard paper, 52 GSM Tomoe River. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does show that shading. Look at KWZ from dark to light. The Dorado, it goes darker and works its way lighter at the top of the D and gets very dark at the O. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It shades beautifully. Quick goes from dark to light to dark. Brown goes from light to dark to light to dark to light to dark. Gorgeous. 23 seconds to dry, very worth the dry time. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, some amazing shading. Looking at quick, dark to darker to lighter to light to dark. So nice in how it just shows all of those tones in a single word. 32 seconds to dry, totally worth the dry time. The scrubby for both shows some color variation. It is much better in the writing than it is there. And a smear test, you could not recover this if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see that it's pushing its way straight up. We get that yellow that we expect with it. We see a very nice orange that is also in this mixed through. It's gathering at the top. The one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's dunked into water. And if it was not marked as the one that was allowed to dry for 10 minutes, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between these two. I really don't expect any kind of resistance from this ink. The last standard paper is 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, offers some very nice shading. Look at Dorado where it's going darker to lighter to darker. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Over goes no shade, tons of shade. Over goes from light to dark. The is a nice dark word. Lazy goes dark to light. So nice, 18 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading. Brown going from darker to lighter. Look at the F in Fox, how it's much lighter at the top of the F and much darker at the bottom of the F. And then it works its way light into the X. So gorgeous. 24 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show a little bit of color variation, not tons at all, but it is great in the writing. And the smear test, still, you could not recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it's not horrible, it's not all blown out, you can read it very well. You would be safe to use it in a note-taking situation without any real problems. I'm not sure with the highlighter that I would, though. Now, water's reactivating, and you see on the upper right part some of the white of the paper coming through. So it is really moving away, just like from the chromatography, from that water. Pen flesh does nothing more than water does, and it only took water to get this out of my pen. The 1/3 bleach solution that you are not going to need to use does completely obliterate this ink off the page. Additional writing samples are done on different papers that change up from video to video, and this one we're starting with Life paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, still offering some very nice shading throughout. Look at that Z where it's light at the top, very dark towards the bottom. Nice. Extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading. Fox goes from light to dark, brown goes from dark to light, over from light to dark, so nice, and 15 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading, over going from light to dark to light to dark, quick going from dark to light to dark, so nice, 20 seconds to dry. The scrubbies from left to right do show a little bit of color variation, much better in the writing. Smear test, still, you could not recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity is 2.5, and the realm of normal is from 2.1 to 2.9. KWZ's El Dorado has a viscosity of 2.07, making this a little bit wetter than normal, just a little bit. There's a link to a video down in the description for if you're interested in how the viscosity is tested or how the bell curve is made. Now let's take a look at Apica CD notebooks. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, nice shading. Again, the KWZ, you see all of the tones showing up here, so good. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading, brown going from dark to light to dark. 11 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, still great shading, quick goes dark to light to dark, over goes light to dark, the goes light to dark. 15 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both do show some color variation, still better in the writing, and the smear test, still, you would not be able to recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. KWZ's El Dorado has a dry time of 22 seconds, which is a little bit slower than normal. The last writing sample is done on Franklin Christoph paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, still offers a bit of shading. L is a bit darker than the KWZ, but not as much shading here as we've had with other papers. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, still shades, not as stand out as the other papers. Brown goes from darker to lighter, Fox goes from lighter to darker, over goes lighter to darker, 9 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine, maybe a little bit darker tone in general. With no feather spread, halo sheen, a little less shading. This shading is nice, it is not as standout. You can find it in spots, like the word the looks a little bit darker than the O in over. Again, here, really not as standout. 12 seconds to dry. I forgot to do the medium scrubbies and stuff, but looking at the extra fine, you don't see a ton of color variation. This paper has not shown as much color variation as other papers. And the smear test, finally, still, You would not be able to recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like KWZ's El Dorado, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with a nice green ink by Blackstone, Australian Bush. Now, if you'd prefer a different color as the complement, then take a look down in the description where you're going to find links to playlists sorted by color. So what do I think of KWZ's El Dorado? This is a beautiful golden yellow. It's a shame it will remain largely ignored for being a yellow ink, as many yellows get ignored. Just look at the great tone and shading that it gives. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? A wet medium will really give that shading that makes this ink pop off the page. I hope you got something out of this video, and tomorrow we're going to take a look at Rhodia and Klinger's Document Black.